Nobody Asked Our Opinion, a podcast where two dummies sit down and give you our opinions on thoughts and things that you didn't ask our opinions for. We are doing our franchise deep dive, and we are in the midst of the Spider-Man franchise. Today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 3 and why it is terrible. My name's Joanna.
And I'm dummy number 2, Jay Jay.
And, oh God, we watched this movie so you don't have to ever again.
Yeah, just don't.
So, let's get started. Credits start, and it is already way more serious than all of the other Sam Raimi movies.
He's like, I'm making sure you remember all the things that happen in my other movies, because I'm going to basically summarize the entire plot.
But not even in a fun, cool way like Spider-Man 2. It was like a comic book.
Nope.
And
it's
it was
just
like
little
cute
scenes and little...
And they weren't even acted out. They're like little like snapshots.
Were they? Did they move? I don't remember.
I stopped paying attention. I didn't care. I paid attention again when I saw that fucking Topher Grace was in this movie. I fucking forgot he was in this movie. I love Topher Grace.
He is in this movie.
And so the movie starts, and Peter is so much happier in this movie already.
Absolutely. Like, Spider-Man 2, he was like, couldn't fucking keep a job, couldn't do anything in class correct. He was, MJ was, his relationship with MJ was like awful, but in this movie, he's like, fucking New York City loves him. His professors are like, yes, you're doing great. Him and MJ couldn't be more in love,
more happy. And then I wrote, but people are still dicks to him.
Oh yeah, like,
because there's like a kid in class who's like just throwing shit at him. You're like, you're in college.
It's like, you're like an adult. Like, calm down. But Peter doesn't let it get to him. He just smiles it off, and he's like, I'm living my life.
Gwen Stacy is in class with him.
And can I say, what is with the Spider-Man movies and casting redheads as blondes and blondes as redheads?
I don't know, but it was nice to see Bryce Dallas Howard.
I actually really do like Bryce Dallas Howard.
I do too, and she's also a phenomenal director. She's been directing episodes in the second season of Mandalorian.
Oh,
yeah. Pay attention to those directors, Boo Boo, when you're playing catch up.
I don't pay attention to barely the episode itself.
And that's the real tea.
But oh, that's cool. Good for her. Yep. Taking after daddy.
Right? No, she's doing great. She's living her best life, and she looks terrible as a blonde in this movie.
Yeah, I bring that up because she has no business being a blonde, and that awful cut.
Yeah, no, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, Bryce Dallas Howard is a gorgeous woman.
Yeah, she should have been just let her. She should have just let her that flowy red hair. Freak flag fly. But I get that Gwen Stacy is the blonde.
But, I mean, you could have also given her, like, some, like, chunky blonde highlights or something to, like, really, like, spice it up a little bit, just to make it a little different. And that probably would have looked fine. And that would have been, like, on brand for, like, when that movie came out, was, like, the chunky highlights.
When did this movie come out? 2007?
Something like that.
Yeah, chunky.
Something like that.
That sounds like a chunky highlight.
Yeah, like, it was in the 2000s, like, before 2010. Like... The chunky highlights were definitely a thing. I was guilty of them.
Yeah, and just like the awkward length I didn't care for. It was just like just above the shoulder, but like...
And then she had like weird bangs.
She had like weird like... I think it like they pulled back and like framed her face.
Yeah, but in a weird way.
It was really strange. I just didn't... Oh, because she had like a headband, I think. Or a ribbon.
Something like that, yeah.
Something in there. It just looked bad. I was just like, poor Dallas.
I know, at first, I'm like, she was unrecognizable for a minute, and I was like...
It's like, oh shit, that's Ron Howard's daughter. Good lord. They did her dirty.
They did do her dirty. Then we find out MJ is on Broadway as a successful actress, and then she starts singing, and you're like, oh.
I read that Kirsten Dunst actually recorded all of those vocals, and I believe it.
Well, first I was like...
I mean, that's no shade. Yeah. Like, she sounds fine, but she's not, like, a Broadway singer, for sure.
Well, because first I was like, who's singing for her? That can't be her singing. And I kept going, and I was like, oh, maybe that is her singing. Because, again, it's not, like you said, it's not bad, but it's not Broadway.
Yeah, it's not Broadway. It's not Broadway singing.
And then Harry's there, and he's being a creep.
Yeah, I was like, he's sitting up creepy in the box seats, just, like, peeping both Peter and MJ on, and just like, yeah, I see you fuckers.
Yeah. No, Harry's being a creep, and he's still a dick.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, look at Peter's flowers. Look at all the giant flowers that rich boy Harry gives her.
Then he's like snide to Peter when he sees him outside the theater. And then you hear, though, the audience commenting, and they're like, she was okay.
Yeah.
Like, accurate.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we see Harry's doing experiments to himself or something with the Green Goblin gas.
We see that same. Yeah,
he's
clearly
gonna go full supervillain or whatever.
Yeah.
And then MJ and Pete are on their web date.
Yeah, and it's really cute, honestly.
It is really cute.
It's really cute, and they're just like watching like the shooting stars go by.
Yeah,
it's
they're like
really
just
adorable.
watching the stars, making out on a giant web, and I mean, it's cute.
It's really fucking cute. But then
Space Rock
falls, and like the Venom symbiote thing like comes creeping out, super gross.
It's super gross, and then latches onto the back of his motorbike.
So then, like, oh, that shit's gonna come up later. Dun dun dun.
You think it would come up sooner than that, but they're like, we don't need you yet, so we're just gonna put a pin on you right there.
A pin, and we're just gonna go back to
our convoluted plot, because here's where shit gets crazy. So there's a prisoner who's on the run, who breaks into a kid's room. Oh, it's his kid.
That's why he's like, oh, fucking creepy crawls in through some child's window. Does he even know this kid? Oh, it's his daughter. I got it.
Oh, just kidding. It's fine.
It's fine.
So he leaves letters for her. Okay, this is less creepy. Apparently he's had a complicated life. His wife is mad that her daughter's sick and that he went to prison and got to eat. How dare you go to prison and eat 3 square meals a day? We're struggling. And he wants to make his daughter better. And so he's like, that's why I'm stealing money. Like, I'm trying to just give her a better life so she can not be sick and die.
Do they ever say what she's suffering from?
I'm probably not. If they did, I wasn't paying attention at that point.
Because she has both like a gas tank, like oxygen
tank, a gas tank.
Oxygen tank.
Yeah.
And she also is in crutches. So is it I don't know if it's like some sort of like muscular issue or like a bone disorder or like an immune...
It's whatever they pretended Gypsy Rose Blanchard had. That's what I'm going with.
Oh, no.
But she really has it. That's just a guess. But I don't
Because I don't think they ever really explicitly say
No,
she's
sick. Just sick. And we're like, we'll give her oxygen. And you know what? We'll give her
a crutch. Make her look real sad.
Yeah. We'll Tiny Tim this up.
Yeah. And I bring this up because they like made for sure in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2 that Norman Osborn had retrograde hyperplasia. That they like fucking they were like it was like in fucking neon lights. Like it was just like, this is what you got. Here they're just like, oh, vaguely sick child.
Yeah. Let's see. So we see Peter. He's with Aunt May, and he's going to tell her. He tells her that he's going to propose to MJ, and she gives her blessings, and she tells a cute story about how Ben proposed to her, and it's all sweet. And then she gives him her ring, and I'm not crying, you're crying, because it's super adorable.
Super adorable. Absolutely. And she says, what is it? A man must
put his woman first.
Put his wife first.
Above everything else.
Above everything else. That's right. And which is
spoiler alert. That's the theme of this movie.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Doesn't happen.
It don't go.
Don't go very well.
And that's also the theme of this movie. This is what we keep coming back to in this movie, and God, I'm already over it.
So you're just like, okay, we've already gotten beaten over the head with this.
And I'm exhausted.
And it hasn't even started yet.
Okay, so Pete's on his way home or something, and then Harry just shows up and just straight up starts attacking. Him. And I said, rude.
Rude-ass Harry?
And I was like, no, don't lose the ring. And then, this fight goes on way longer than it needs to.
It's like, I was like...
I'm like, is it bad that I'm bored? I feel like this is a video game and not a movie. Like, this would have been a sick video game to, be, going through...
I don't need to watch any of this. I don't need to watch this whole thing.
No, I quit. I didn't care. And then
I also put, is the CGI better?
No, the CGI is better in Spider-Man 2. I was like, how did this movie get worse? And again, this pops up multiple times in my news. But how is this movie worse than its predecessors? But Harry like falls, and then I go.
Well, he like hits his head and like falls like a
good
couple
way,
stories, yeah.
And then like hits his head, and I go, wait, is he already dead? That was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And then we cut to what's his name, the prison guy. I call him prison guy. I don't remember his name.
I think his name is Flint something.
Flint.
Because it was
Flint
Marcos.
Flint Marcos. I almost said Marcus Flint because Marcus Flint is the seeker on the Quidditch team for Slytherin.
That's so funny because in my notes I said the CGI reminds me of Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
Like early Harry Potter.
Yeah. No, the CGI was also it was crunchy.
Because get it? He's Flint like a rock, and he's the Sandman.
Oh, and I also refuse to call him Sandman. I call him Sand Dude.
I just rather
Sandman means sleepy man.
No, I get it. Yeah. I went from calling him Thomas Hayden Church, like his actual, and I'm like, I don't need to type all that. And then I was like, I can't remember his actual name, so I just called him Sandman because he's a man made of sand.
I call him Sand Dude.
Sand Dude,
okay,
yeah.
But he's not Sand Dude yet. So I said, oh yeah, so we're really trying to say that Flint, this prison guy, is the guy who really killed Uncle Ben? Why are we retconning this?
That's what I said. I was like, no, you can't just do that.
And because they just, at first I thought it's like, oh, are they just going to casually throw out here that, oh, this is the guy that was suspected in the Ben Parker murder? You're like, no, that was the guy that Peter, like, tried to kill and then he fell out a window. But apparently, nope, we're retconning it. It was this guy who killed Uncle Ben. Now he's a sand thing. Cool.
Yeah, he like falls into like a weird science experiment, like in the middle of an open field. Like I don't know where he's running
in the
from.
middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night.
with no safety precautions. They get like the scientists like
There's not even a fence around that giant ass hole. Like you would think there was like there'd be a fence so that like a human being wouldn't fall into that pit.
Well, and I mean, and it's one of those things, because again, I feel like we're at the point to where Sam Raimi was like, I don't want to make this movie, so I just not going to care anymore, because these are details that would have been in Spider-Man 2, or even Spider-Man 1. But the fact that they're not here now, Sam Raimi was just like, I don't want to make this movie anymore.
Yeah, I don't care.
This is not what I wanted. But yeah, so he's a sand thing now. Cool.
Yep.
And I said, Harry isn't dead. I can't decide if I'm mad about that or not.
I'm actually glad that the short-term memory loss thing happened, just because like his character was just like more pleasant.
Oh yeah, no, I was infinitely happier that he was a happier person, but also, so I was like, okay, so he has short-term memory, so that means Peter can have his shitty friend back. But then he's somehow like less shitty now. Like, because he was a shitty person before he became like crazy because of his father. Like Spider-Man, he was not a good person, because I repeatedly said it. It's like, no, Harry Osborn is trash. He's a dick, and all of a sudden he's not a dick. I was like, so not only do you forget who you are, but you also forgot you're an asshole. But whatever.
I guess so.
But I'm like, cool.
I mean, I don't really know how retrograde amnesia works. Doctors don't even really know how that works.
Fair enough. But you're right. He's more pleasant on screen. He's more interesting of a character now.
He's like I'm trying to remember what. I lost it. It went away.
There was a thought. It flew away.
It flew the fuck away.
But whatever. We're retconning his character too. Why not? We're just gonna redo all of the great things about the other movies. Well, I don't know. Harry Osborn wasn't a great thing about any of these movies, but I digress. So Sand Dude's learning how to form. Why does this movie look so bad?
I was like, they must have put like a super amount of like money into the CGI effects, because they're like, look at all the particles that we can render. Ooh, look at all the sand particles move. And like, obviously, like I'm sure at the time it would have been like, this is groundbreaking. But like looking now, like, 10 years in the future, we're like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, no, this looks terrible.
This looks awful. And then so he like tries to form, and he finds so he has that locket with his daughter's picture in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, are all lockets meant to be in black and white? Like the photos meant to be in black and white?
Yes. That's it. That's all.
Is that the only way that you can get a photo in a locket? Is it has to be?
It starts out color, and as soon as it goes into the locket, it immediately
turns
Yep.
black and white. Got it. Because I was like,
it's either black and white or in sepia.
Right. There's no such thing as a colored locket photo.
Nope, nobody
Not
wants
at all.
it.
Not
Nobody
at
wants
all.
it. It's this aesthetic.
Gross.
So Peter still lives in his terrible apartment. The door doesn't work. And so, okay. So MJ gets a bad review. And so Peter is trying to make her feel better, and she's not having it. And on some regards, like, I kind of understand that she just wants to feel like shit for a minute, but she also never quite states that. And so Peter is just doing what he would want. So, okay, so I'm guilty of this as a human, is if somebody tells me that they're having a bad day, I want to figure out how to fix it. However, if you say, no, don't fix it, let me just be angry for a minute, and then I'll say, oh, okay. She doesn't say, let me be mad. She just goes, why do you keep saying that? You're hurting my feelings. And I'm kind of like, I don't...
Well, there's this. I put down this this idea of kind of like toxic positivity that like that you always have to look on the bright side of things. That you always have to like look beyond like the immediate shittiness. And I think that obviously she's only there just to kind of she just wants to talk and to vent and things like that. And it's the point is that what she needs, Peter isn't giving to her.
No, and I do get that, and I understand, and I see that. I think that the problem is that they're both bad at communication. So she can't just say, I need to be upset. Can you just let me be mad and then hug me?
Right.
And he would have been like, hopefully, oh, okay. Because Peter genuinely just wants to make her happy.
He just wants to make her happy.
And if that's what she needs, then that's what needs to happen. But that doesn't happen. And so, and then Peter, of course, is like, oh, I need to leave because there's cops.
And he goes, go get him, Tiger?
Yeah, I'm gonna go solve this problem now. Okay, bye. And then I was like, oh, Pete, you're kind of being a dick.
Yeah.
That was not what you're supposed to do here.
No.
So MJ's mad, and understandably so at that point. And then, oh, look, it's the gross venom thing. That's at Pete's house. We're not going to see it again for, like, another 30 minutes.
No, it's like a good, like, hour. Like, we don't get anything we don't get, like, almost halfway through the movie until we get, like, actual things happening with the venom goo.
Fair enough. We don't see it for a while.
It happens for a while.
But we're reminded it's there.
Yeah, it's hair's lurking around.
And so Gwen's a model?
That's like what I'm assuming is because Gwen Stacy is supposed to be like the smart, like she's in the same classes as Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. She's smart. She answers the question in the beginning of the movie correctly.
Yeah.
So my assumption is that she's modeling as like a side like gig to like pay for school, because I'm assuming that the chief of police is not making enough money to put a daughter through college.
But like later they like double down on this. She's a model and this is kind of what she wants to be doing, and that Peter's been helping her through her classes because she's not smart enough to get them done on her own.
When was that?
When she shows up on the date with at the restaurant with MJ and Peter, because she sits there and she like has her hands on it. Is like, oh yeah, Peter's been so great helping me in class. We're lab partners, and I never would have gotten through this class without him. Because
I thought that's just a thing you say that like, oh, just to be like, oh, your boyfriend is really helping me in this class. Like that's what I would say, even if I was a smart kid and was doing fine with or without this person. Oh,
I mean, I wouldn't say that, like, I would be useless without this person. I would have been like, oh, yeah, it's been great being able to collaborate, with this person.
That's what I thought.
Because we do so, like, we work so well together. But it just, I don't know. It sounds like she's trying to make herself sound like, it just, to me, came off as, oh, she's not doing that well in this class, and the only reason she's passing is because Peter helps her. Which, I mean, sometimes you need the extra help because it's not your subject, but it seemed to me, though, that she was, like, the modeling thing wasn't, like, a side gig. It seemed to be, like, the thing that she was more excited about.
But we get nothing, I don't get anything, we don't get anything modeling ever again.
We also don't get anything smart ever again.
We don't really get Gwen Stacy ever again.
Fair enough. Why are we spending so much time? I just want better for her. Justice for Bryce Dallas Howard.
For real, though.
But, okay, so she's a model, she's hanging from a building, and apparently Eddie Brock is her boyfriend, and it's Topher Grace.
Yeah, like I said, looking like Lance Bass, circa 1996, post frosted tip realness.
Boots.
But I mean, like, at the time, that was a chic look.
Yes, no, absolutely. It worked for Lance Bass.
It worked for Lance Bass, and Topher Grace definitely has, like, he's got, like, the Twinkie boy, like, charm going.
No, absolutely. He looked great. He's,
I said a wild Topher Grace appears, like he's a fucking Pokemon.
I hate you. And so, apparently, Eddie is the new photographer for Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And he's also a suck-up.
Yes, because he wants to be, like, the better version of Peter Parker.
Yeah. Let's see. And then we see Stan. I said, "Hi, Stan."
And he's not saving people from falling rubble in this movie.
I know.
He just gets to have a talk with Peter.
Yes.
And he says something poignant. He says something poignant here. I forget what it is.
Oh, he said something.
You can do whatever you want to be, or
Enough said.
Something like that.
Yeah. Be all you can be. Enough said.
and Tobey Maguire's just like, okay, yeah.
Thank you, Random Man.
Thank you.
Harry still has amnesia.
Oh, we get to J. J. Jameson, and he's now watching his blood pressure because he has all the medication on his desk.
Okay, so this is like a comedic gold from Elizabeth
So
Banks.
good. I love this scene. Like, and I understand the comedic effect of having, like, the whole. Now that I think about it, it's him jolting. That's what's causing the table to shake.
Yeah.
Because in the way it was timed, it felt like the intercom buzzer was causing the table to shake. But now that I'm thinking about it, it was him being jolted.
Startled. Yeah, he was startled.
And causing the table to shake. Now I feel a little stupid. But like the whole
it's a waste of a note.
Yeah, but like the whole bit with like the him trying to find the correct pill, and she's like, not that one. Yeah, that one. Drink water.
Drink lots of water.
Drink lots of water.
No, it's
really
great.
good.
And so Eddie wants to be the only Spider-Man photographer, and he thinks that he's a better photographer than Peter. And Peter's like, but if there's a job opening, I've been here longer. And
because, seniority, blah,
yeah.
blah.
And so J. Jonah Jameson says, the first one to bring me a photograph of Spider-Man being a bad guy that we all know he is will win. And gets the job. Let's see.
I did probably, Eddie Brock is a literal discount Peter Parker because J. Jonah Jameson
only gave him $50.
Only gave him $50 as opposed to like the normal.
The $300 that he's supposed to pay him?
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, he's literally the discount Peter Parker.
Let's see.
We get Harry comes home and pronounces his butler's name weird.
Oh, yeah.
It's Bernard, not Bernard.
Bernard.
It's Bernard.
It's pretentious white people.
Ugh. Fucking rich white people. Oh, Bernard!
Oh, and then I wrote down, we find out that MJ's being replaced for not being talented.
Yeah. Can you imagine, though?
No, I know. The way that it happened, though, was very heartbreaking. Like, to walk in and see your replacement there, who also, by the way, was, like, amazing.
Yeah, I actually tried to look up who the actress was. I couldn't find who it was.
Oh, her name... so when you move your... I was watching it on my computer, and then they'll have, like, all of the actors on Amazon Prime, and they'll tell you who they are or who's in the scene.
Oh.
Her name is Jessie Collins. And the only reason why I have this committed to memory now is that she's in Kelly Clarkson's band on The Kelly Clarkson Show.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she's doing good for herself. She hasn't really been in any other movies, but she's, like, a performer and a singer, and she sings with Kelly Clarkson. And if you can hold your own with Kelly Clarkson, then I think that you're doing pretty well in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think at one time, wasn't Mariah Carey, like, a backup singer for Whitney Houston at some point?
Fact check that somebody, but sure.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like, of course, yeah, you would be like,
yeah,
you've got chops if you can sing along with a great.
I know, absolutely. So yeah,
I did find that like the character's name is named after Sam Raimi's sister.
Cool.
Apparently, there's a bunch of Raimis.
Probably.
I mean, his brother is one of J. Jonah Jameson's like lackeys. He's the guy that was like posting the different
yes.
headlines. That's
Yes,
his
yes,
brother.
yes.
So I mean, yay nepotism. But yeah, so and I wrote down this is giving me very like last 5 years vibes because like MJ's career is kind of going on the downswing while at the same time Peter Parker's
life is going up.
Life is going on the upswing because they literally have like a Spider-Man fest.
Yeah.
Or was it like a celebration day? Like
I think it was like a Spider-Man celebration thing that Gwen organized because Spider-Man saved her life and her dad's the police chief.
Yeah.
But you also find out in the scene that Gwen really isn't that into Eddie. She's like, we went on one date. MJ has not told Peter that she was fired.
No. But tells Happy Harry.
And he does the thing that she wanted, which was, oh, did you know I wrote a play for you when we were like teenagers? As opposed to just like,
how can I fix this? How can I be...
Hey, I think you're great because I wrote a play just for you. Which is also like low-key adorable. Until you find out he was like a senior in high school later. Because he's like, when did you write this? Oh, in 12th grade. You're like, oh, you were like 17, 18? Mm-hmm. Kind of creepy now.
I take it back. That's not cute. And Gwen and Spider-Man recreate
the MJ kiss. I know. I was like,
upside down kiss.
I said, oh no, that's MJ's kiss.
I was like, no. Oh no, I put bad form, Peter. Bad form.
Yeah, no, that wasn't okay.
That is not okay. Like that is, you know, that's iconic. That was like the almost deciding factor for MJ about getting together with you.
But that's what he does, and I was like, he does, because I thought when he said, oh no, go ahead and kiss me, I thought he was gonna do
like
a thing like through the mask,
yeah,
and then she pulls it down. I was like, oh no, you fucked up, Aaron.
Oh yeah, Aaron fucked up.
And then and I also like that they play the Spidey theme on the in the band,
the
like for
band.
the Spider-Man Day. You're like, oh, there it is. There's the song. And then all the while, Sand Dude's being chased by the cops again, and so he can use all the sand to become big.
Mm-hmm. And there's just happens to be like trucks of sand everywhere.
Apparently.
Because that's, you know.
So, and I go, here comes trouble on the wind, because in comes the wind, and all that sand blows in, and it's the Sand Dude. Mm-hmm. And so he's still trying to steal that money for his sick kid.
Do armored vans literally just have guys put bags of money in it? Is that how money is transported? Or do they not, like, just park out in front of the bank and just put bags of money in it? They don't go to, like, a secret, back entrance?
Well, okay, so when I worked fast food, I was a shift manager, and I would sometimes have to oversee the ADT, people, like the bank people or whatever, come through and pick up the money out of our little safe. And so they would park out in front of our restaurant, big old, armored car, come and walk right in and pull all of our deposit money out, and then, leave with it out the front door. And they would do that at multiple restaurants. So and they would just have little bags. They would have bags of money just chilling in their truck. So I'm assuming it's the same way when they go to banks.
I would think that they would have a different protocol for banks, though, because you're handing
But they have all of that money because they take all of the money they pick up from the restaurants and stuff, and they take it to the in stores, and they take it to the bank. So even if you're if mine was the last, my restaurant was the last stop before the bank, you're still gonna have the same amount of money in your truck.
But they were loading the truck. They weren't unloading the truck.
Why would you load money from a bank into a truck? I don't understand.
That's my question. Why are they loading money into this van in front of a bank? Is that how money gets transferred from bank to bank?
I don't know. I don't think the writers cared.
I mean, I could just be ignorant.
Were they loading or were they unloading?
I want to say they were loading.
I wasn't paying attention.
I mean,
I really zoned out. I really didn't care anymore.
I did stop paying attention at some point. I think I literally I don't know, I wasn't paying attention.
So, Peter's going to propose to MJ, but MJ's mad. It won't go well.
Oh god, that whole scene was a hot mess as far as like that getting that proposal down. I love the fact that like Bruce Campbell is again pops up.
I wrote Bruce Campbell's ridiculous.
I love the fact that he like takes a whistle and just off screen a hand pops up with a pen on a silver platter. I'm like, that's fucking stupid, but that's great.
Yeah, no, I was all here for this scene. It was great. Let's see. And so he has it all set up, and I was like, oh, MJ's being a little much. Because, you know, Gwen pops in and, like, interrupts their date, and, like, I understand why she's mad. And why she's upset. But she's also now nitpicking at things that don't need to be nitpicked at.
She's definitely like she definitely should be mad about the upside down kiss. I don't think that she definitely blew the fact that Gwen happens to be his lab partner, and she blew that kind of out of proportion.
Well, because it was like, well, why didn't you tell me? Why would I?
Why does it matter?
Hey, I'm partnered with this girl you'll probably never meet.
Yeah.
For lab.
Yeah.
At school. I mean, if it
like,
was...
That was definitely blown out of proportion.
If it was, me and my... Like, I'm going to go hang out with my... Like, I'm going to grab a drink with my lab partner after class today. Oh, cool. Who is it? Like, oh, her name's Gwen. We're just friends.
But then she did just see that lab partner do the upside down kiss to Spider-Man. So, like, it's not only just that, like, oh, it's just random person. He kissed this random person in a fashion that was very intimate and very meaningful to her.
Yes. No, I agree, and I think that there was some blowing out of proportion. Like I said, I'm not taking away from the fact that she should be upset, because I would be upset. I understand the upset. I think though that especially we start to lose the realm of logic of there just to make her this jilted lover that is like borderline irrational. So you're being told to side with Peter because you're supposed to side with Peter because he's the main protagonist. And I think that's my problem, is that I'm like, oh, why are we taking it up like another notch and another notch? Like, we don't. It was enough, like, just with the upside down kiss, and then for Gwen to be like to walk up in the date, for her to be
and like bring it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And so for it to just be there, like, MJ didn't have to take it further, because we already had enough material to work with to be like, he fucked up, and you have every right to.
Yeah, I don't think that it needed. I don't think it needed to be harped on that they were lab partners, and the fact that he didn't tell her was an issue for her. I don't think that was an issue. I don't think that should have been an issue that would have made her like elevate. I think the fact that she saw this person make out with her, you know, potential fiance, and then find out that he is also their lab partner, maybe again jumping to conclusions, but that coupling could be enough by itself to get her to a place where she's like, no, I can't deal with this right now.
For sure.
But it all blows up in his face, and I love the fact that Bruce Campbell still fucking delivers the champagne with the ring inside.
So Peter fishes us out with the knife and
like cleans it off
and goes home to be sad. And on that note, we're gonna take a quick break.
Oh my God, I cannot with the housing market right now, Joanna.
Have I not told you about Capital Realty Center?
Oh, the premier realty group that supported and succeeded throughout the California landscape? Now I remember.
If that's what you're looking for, call Kathy Johnson at 916-606-0687 to win that next bid.
That's Kathy Johnson with Capital Realty Center at 916-606-0687. License number 02021378.
And we're back.
Hello.
So we left off with Peter's sad, and I love that he goes home and uses the payphone.
Right?
Because we're just reminding you that Peter's poor.
He's hella poor.
And so he's there after the dinner he probably couldn't afford to use
that was
the
like
payphone.
a fancy-ass French restaurant.
It was very fancy, and even MJ was like, can you afford this? He's like, it's fine.
It's no big deal.
It's fine. It's special.
It's alright.
And so, and then Peter finds out, gets a call, and him and Aunt May go down to the police station, and you find out...
The PlayStation?
It's a fucking video game. This is not a movie, it's a video game. It was probably on PlayStation.
I think Spider-Man 2 was on PlayStation, I want to say. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, this movie was just a glorified video game. Okay, so they go to the police station and find out that Sand Dude, before he became Sand Dude, shot Uncle Ben, and Peter's playing this all out in his mind, and he's like, oh, he just shot him in cold blood because he's a jerk, and I'm gonna kill this man.
I'm gonna exact revenge again.
And then we see MJ actually trying to be a good person. Like, look at these people trying to be good people in this movie sometimes.
Yeah.
Because she is still super pissed off at him, but
she finds out.
But May called her and told her about what happened and said, I'm worried about Peter. And so she goes to check up on him, because she does legitimately still care about Peter, even though she's really angry. Mm-hmm. And if this were a normal relationship where there wasn't a Spider-Man involved in supervillains, I'm sure that they would have been able to work things out from this point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But they're not a normal relationship. And
this is not a normal relationship.
They're both
this is not
kind
a
of
normal
being,
universe.
I was like, and now Peter's being trash. And... So, I literally put, and now Peter's being the worst. Lasai. This movie's too much.
Lasai.
And so, MJ's like, alright, fine. I won't be here to be your friend right now.
Goodbye.
And then, hey, we finally see the Venom thingy again, and it's latching onto Peter. And he's now in a black Spidey suit. And I went, hee, night monkey. And so, Peter's out in his Venom suit. And then he wakes up in his bed.
He's like, okay.
Okay, and so he takes a piece of the symbiote to Dr. Connors. And Dr. Connors is like, hey, don't touch this.
Don't ever let this get on you.
Because it's probably really dangerous.
Yes.
So, of course, the first thing Peter does is put on that replica suit, because apparently he made a separate suit instead of just latching onto his previous one.
Yeah, I was curious about that too.
But I'm sure. And because I was like, I have questions, and so
well, you know what happens when he puts on the black suit? He also puts on eyeliner. And
suddenly his hair gets darker.
Suddenly his hair is parted and covering the one eye.
And oh god, it's so cringe. It's so bad.
He turns into Panic at the Disco Peter.
Oh, but not nearly as attractive as he should be.
No.
Brendan Urie is way more attractive.
Could you imagine if Brendan Urie did the whole like Spider-Man like dance sequence?
I would pay great money for that. I would pay lots of money for that. Brendan Urie, if you're listening, can you please do this for us?
Just for shits and giggles.
Just make us happy, please. If anybody knows Brendan Urie, one, have him call into the pod. That'd be great. And two, pass on this message. But so Peter's out there, and he breaks Eddie's camera. Because he's like, I'm going to take a picture of you in your black suit because you're a jerk. And then he breaks his camera, and he's like, oh, well, okay.
But then he pulls out a digital camera.
And takes a picture that's probably shitty. And so then Peter goes and he's beating the shit out of the Sand Dude. And they're beating each other up, and then you find out that water is bad for the sand guy.
Water is bad for sand.
And so he flushes down a drain or something.
Yeah.
And I said, ew, the editing when the water tank was breaking. Like, all of those weird, jump cuts to, here's the thing, and it's popping, and then here's the close-up of the face. And then it goes over here, and then another thing pops, and a close-up of the face. And it was just super choppy, and it was gross, and it made me not happy. And I was like, what the fuck was that? It was like...
I mean, we mentioned this in a previous podcast that Sam Raimi does have an affinity for, old style, comic book movie, shenanigans.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's a very typical,
But it didn't look good.
I mean...
It did not look good. It's because sometimes you have, the weird, the moments, the screams and stuff, and you're like, okay, this is over the top, but it didn't look bad. This looked bad. This looked really bad.
There's a lot of this movie that kind of looked bad.
But, yeah, so it's it was gross, and the sand guy melted, and then...
He, turned to poop and then,
went down the sewer.
Went down the drain.
And then I said gross, breeding hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's being a grouchy man to the landlord, and the landlord is like the sweetest man ever. Like we're supposed to like hate him in the last movie, but now we appreciate him for who he is because he still lets Peter live in this crappy apartment even though he has no money. And he was just like, it was sweet though, because he was just like, Peter's a good kid. If he's acting like this right now, he's going through some shit.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be okay with that. And so Peter tells May that Spider-Man killed Ben's killer, and May's like, but Spider-Man
doesn't kill people. That's not what he does.
And she just starts dropping that wisdom, and I'm gonna say it here. For the record, Rosemary Harris is the best Aunt May.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because I love
Sally Field.
I love
she just
Sally
didn't do
Field.
enough
she was underutilized in The Amazing Spider-Man to be considered the best Aunt May. And I go and say the same thing about Marissa Tomei. I think Marissa Tomei is fucking awesome. But I don't think she is the best Aunt May because she's not utilized enough. Rosemary Harris.
She's also exploiting Tom Holland's Spider-Man a little bit.
Right? I love their chemistry, and I think I love the single mom vibe she gives. But Rosemary Harris is the cartoon.
Yes.
And she drops the wisdom, and she's so sweet, and she's so perfect, and she's the best Aunt May. Fight me.
Yeah, and she says, I think she says something along the lines like, revenge is like a poison, it takes over, or something like that. I'm like, is the black symbiote thing a literal representation of
poison?
Of Peter's revenge? Like revenge fantasy?
I mean, that's not even like a side whisper. They legitimately say it later in the movie. They spell it out for you.
It gets pretty damn clear.
Here's the plot. Let's smack you in the face with it 16 times.
With a giant sand hand.
Every single time. For every single thing. MJ gets a job as a waitress.
A singing waitress, yeah. At a jazzy club.
Yep.
Harry paints.
Yeah, and I was like,
he paints like flowers and
he paints. So I was
because he's like a happy Harry. He's like, I'm gonna paint.
And the bump on the head made him less crazy, and not a jackass, and talented in things. Even the butler's like, who are you?
He's like, you're acting.
You mean we're gonna have a guest?
Like a guest?
What is that? Like what? We don't do that here.
Yeah, and he like. Fucking is making like omelets with because MJ comes over and is like, I need a friend, because boo on Peter and my life is kind of in ruins right now.
So she's like, let me come over and hang out, and he's like, sure.
And then like have this like really cute like cooking together of like,
okay. So am omelets. I really supposed to believe that this rich boy can cook?
Apparently, the bop in the head gives him. I mean, he is cooking an omelet.
Yeah. But am I really supposed to believe? Like, because he was like... And then I also love, he's like, I hope you like bell peppers, and then puts in like 6 little pieces of bell peppers.
Yeah, it's like, he just like puts... very...
just a couple. I was
just
like,
a couple.
That's not... Okay. Whatever. But it is a cute little scene, and I'm glad they're having fun. They're dancing around and having a good old time. The landlord's still great, because he's like... Because Peter, like, apologizes because he had his talk with Aunt May and he realized he was being a jerk and doesn't have the symbiote suit on anymore. So he's like, I'm sorry. And the landlord's like, you know what? If you're sorry, you can buy me a pizza. Like, now. That'd be great. Like and he's like, okay. So, yeah, I want to live next to that family. I want them to be our neighbors.
As long as I can live free.
That's why
for rent.
That's why you have them be your neighbor. But no, they're super sweet and I love them. And then MJ kisses Harry, which is like not a great thing, but I mean you can argue that we were on a break thing or whatever. Like,
oh God. I
mean, like it's not the worst. What's worst is that instead of sitting down and being like, this was a mistake, I was caught up in a moment, like. I love you as my friend. Like, let's sit down and talk about it as an adult. She just gets up and dips. And I'm like, really? This makes you the worst.
Yeah, again, this is MJ, like the worst of MJ coming out when she's, very manipulative of the men in her life. She, now has rebuked Peter.
Yep.
And now is like, oh, the closest other male in my life is Harry. And Harry's like, up to this point before he got bonked, he's been kind of like weird with with Peter, and like she even like mentions like, oh, you guys seem to be in good,
you guys seem cool.
You guys seem cool. So she's like, okay, things are kind of going back to normal. They were at one, you know, they were together at some point, so like, you know, old feelings might have kind of popped up, and like she kind of, you know, got a little bit carried away, but you know, that's what MJ does what MJ does, and emotionally manipulates the men in her life to figure out her own shit.
Yep, and we're reminded of that, all things. And then because MJ dips, all of a sudden Harry remembers he's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we see Willem Dafoe, and I'm like, stay, make this movie less terrible.
But then he goes away.
And then he goes away, and I'm sad. But I also love, like, to show the difference. Ursula, the landlord's daughter, even though she has trouble, bitch can open the door. Mary Jane, every time, I need you to open the door, you know I can't open it. Yeah. Ursula's like, hold on, and she throws some shoulder in it. She struggles, but she can open the door. Shit open. Because Peter should just date Ursula. Ursula's great.
Did they have like a little bit of a moment?
They had a cute little moment in the last movie.
They don't have a cute moment in this movie. It's actually quite gross.
Oh yeah, no, he's a dick.
Yeah.
Like, and Ursula's like, she's just champion. She's like, hey, Mary Jane's on the phone.
I even put the thingy on the thingy.
I put the thing up here, and like he's still being like, he's not being jackass, like, because he's not wearing the suit yet again. No. But so, and I said, ugh, let's break up to save you. I'm like,
right, because Harry, as now that he's like realized he's, you know, an evil person, he like blackmails basically. I'm not exactly sure how he manages to convince Mary to, I forget.
Well, he just says, if you want Peter to live.
That's right. If you want Peter to live, you're going to have to break up with him.
And so she breaks up with him. Okay, as opposed to, my boyfriend's a superhero.
He can kick your ass.
Especially because she doesn't know that he has superpowers.
Oh, Harry?
Harry, yeah. She just thinks that he's crazy. So, I don't know. But I'm like, oh, okay.
Do you think that MJ would sick a Spider-Man on a guy that's...
She would say, hey, you know our friend Harry? I'm a little worried about him because he just said he was going to kill you if I didn't break up with you. So, watch your back. And maybe go talk to Harry and bring some police back up or do something. Like, I don't think she would necessarily say, you need to kill this fool before he kills you. But I think that a normal person would be like, hey, superhero boyfriend, I know we're in a weird place right now, but heads up. Our friend Harry wants to kill you. And I don't know why.
No. I mean, also a normal person would tell their significant other, oh, I was fired from my job.
Also, Mary Jane is trash. Start that series.
But beside the point, she breaks up with Harry super dramatically on a bridge in a park, and
I know that bridge. I like that bridge. It's a cute bridge. It's in Central Park. I know exactly what bridge that is.
So obviously Peter is devastated,
and then he goes and he talks to his best friend Harry, who he thinks still has amnesia.
And Harry does not.
And Harry's a dick, and he goes, I'm with MJ.
It's like, I'm the man that... Because MJ tells him, oh, I'm in love with another man. Another man. Harry comes in and is like, I'm that other man. Fucker.
Well, and then I love the moment, like, he crosses the street, and he turns around, and then you see, like, he winks at him, and he's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
And so, and I go, is the movie over yet?
Can this be it?
Is it? Nope. And I said, well, we're back. Emo Pete's back.
The guy liner is on. The parted hair is covering the eye. And he takes us... well, I think first he goes and immediately brings Eddie Brock down a notch by exposing his like fake photo of the black...
No, we're not even there yet. He first has a fight with... Harry, because he gets stabbed, and he goes, and then
Harry he pops up in his
and then Harry goes, I'm gonna kick your ass, and Peter goes, shudders and goes, ooh, and I went, I fucking can't with this movie. I can't.
That's right.
I literally almost closed my computer and laughed. Like, I can't deal with it right now.
Rage quit a movie.
I was like, and then he like, they're flinging insults, and like Peter's being a dick, and then Harry throws one of the goblin bombs at him, and he catches it, and he flings it back, and it explodes, and then he leaves.
Yes.
And
That's
then the people don't believe it's Spider-Man anymore because Eddie Brock had brought the picture of him as in the black suit.
Yeah.
Being a dick. So Peter says that Eddie's picture is a fake and brings like the original picture, which I think like legit because his good camera was ruined. It would make sense that it wasn't a good, like he didn't have a good shot of him.
It would have been, he would have had to doctor a photo to submit something.
And so he just sits there. And so like, I'm like, are we supposed to feel bad for this man who like literally plagiarized a photo to get a job?
Mm-hmm. No.
And then is like, oh, but Peter's being a dick right now because he called him out on a man who plagiarized a photo for his job. But he's like, Peter, you just ruined my career. I'm never going to get a job anywhere else again. Because you shouldn't.
Because you shouldn't. You plagiarized a work of another artist. Like, that's not okay.
But whatever. And then we get the fun, awkward moment. So Pete's on the phone, and Ursula's like feeding
him cookies.
And it's so gross. It's and then he's like, "Do you have any with nuts?" And she goes, "I have nuts inside. I can go make some." He goes, "Yeah,
do that.
Do that. Go make me some cookies with nuts in them." And she like runs inside to do it. I'm like,
It's just all gross.
And all the while, at some point, Dr. Connors says that the symbiote amplifies aggression.
He says amplifies certain characteristics, particularly aggression.
And you go, huh. Cool. And then we get a montage of Peter being an ass.
I put Saturday Night Fever meets Tobey Maguire.
And then I said, yes, come through, dance meme. Come through, because he goes in and he buys clothes at that were on sale, and he comes out, and I love that even as he's being a dick, these girls come out and look at him like, the fuck,
this goofball.
Who is this nerd?
This goofball. Did you notice I put blaxploitation. I'd have to go back and see if it's actually in that style. But the Spider-Man theme is playing all the while he's doing this, and it's this very 70s blaxploitation. It reminds me very much of Shaft. It's that kind of old school dirty jazz.
Amazeballs.
And that version of the Spider-Man theme is playing the whole time.
Amazing. And then I said, oh, look, Sand Guy isn't dead. We put a pin in him for a while, but he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
And then Peter is douche dating Gwen.
Oh, yeah. And this is the scene where I was like, they did Gwen Stacy dirty in this movie.
Yeah, well, so then they're there, and then he can play the piano. And I said, really? The West Side Story snaps? He comes down and he starts doing the West Side Story snaps, which is the worst dance move ever invented.
His whole routine was utter cringe, but the audience was like, yeah!
God, it was so bad. And then
it's terrible.
After that then he does the tango dance moves with Gwen, and then he dips her and he looks up and he's like, yeah, fuck you, MJ. And then Gwen's like, oh, you just did all that for her? And so he leaves because then she leaves, and then Peter's still being a douche.
Right before she leaves, and I think this is where my heart breaks for Gwen. She goes up to MJ and tears in her eyes says, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, Gwen did not. I mean, she probably shouldn't have kissed upside down Spider-Man.
Well, but she didn't know. She didn't know.
Again,
she was not in a relationship with anybody. She was not aware that Spider-Man was Peter Parker, who's supposed to be in love with Mary Jane, and she had no idea. She was living out a fantasy because she had a savior complex, a crush. This man saved her life, and she's like, I want that. And so there was nothing wrong with anything that Gwen Stacy did.
Yeah, Gwen Stefani. I almost said Gwen Stefani. I ain't no holla back girl.
Snaps.
But yeah, Gwen Stacy is probably one of the least problematic characters in this movie, and to have her go up and with tears in her eyes again. Bryce Dallas Howard underutilized in this movie.
Yep.
With tears in her eyes, apologizes to MJ.
Yeah, because she's like, I
realize what is happening here, and
I am sorry.
I am sorry for that you had to go
deal
through
with
this.
Yeah. And then Peter's being a douche, and then he hits MJ.
Yeah, he gets in a kerfuffle with the bouncer, and then like swings around
and MJ's like, Peter, stop, and he turns around and thwap. And she gets knocked to the ground. And then that's the moment he realizes he's becoming a bad man.
Oh, no.
And so now he's brooding in the rain on top of a church. And Eddie's praying for Peter to die. I was like, seems a little extreme.
Right?
I'm like, I get it, kind of, but you still are trash. But God damn it, Topher Grace. And I was like, well, Eddie's Venom now. And nightmare fuel.
Right, because he, like, grows teeth, like fangs, and, like...
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand. And, okay, not gonna lie, it took me an awkward amount of, like, time to be like, why does he have spider powers? It's like, because he's a copy of Peter Parker. I understand now. I felt dumb for a very long time.
What I don't understand is when Peter had bonded with the symbiote, he was still physically kind of similar. When Eddie is the symbiote, he's like jacked.
Yeah, well, so I think the implication is that Eddie has more rage and aggression inside of him than Peter ever did. And
so then, like, the symbiote fed off of that and got more?
I think that's the implication. And I may be giving this way more credit than it deserves, and they're just like, we want to make you creepy, because that's what it looked like in the comics.
Yeah, that was what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason why that Eddie as Venom is this hulking mass of, like...
I will say he has more rage because he was the one who wanted... He was literally praying for... He's like, I only want one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker. And I'm like...
You're like, that's extreme.
Okay.
But nowhere does it say, like, the symbiote, like, gets bigger when you have more
Okay, we don't say anything about the symbiote except for that it amplifies aggression. That's all we get.
Yeah.
Everything else I'm making up. And to try to make any sense of it. But I said, thank God Aunt May's back. And Peter gives Aunt May the ring back. And she says, in some serious truth bomb, do the hardest thing. Forgive yourself. And I was like, that's a religious experience right there. Hot damn.
For real.
And so, let's see, Eddie's teaming up with the Sand Dude. And I do say, it's like, why is Eddie such a monster? Like, I don't know. We're making things up.
We're just doing what we're going to be doing.
And then I went on a tangent. Why is Venom even in this movie? He shouldn't have been in this movie. Sam Raimi didn't want him in this movie. I don't want him in this movie. We should have met Eddie Brock. And people who watched the cartoons and read the comics would have been like, that guy's going to be Venom. Mm-hmm. Maybe we see the Rock, like, fall from space, but we don't, like, know where it went. And, like, maybe that's the end of the movie. Because Peter and MJ get back together, and maybe they're having their date there, and then that's where we get the thing, and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But we don't. He's here. And we're forcing that in there, too, so why not?
I mean, I would also say, why have Sandman in here?
Same thing.
There's no reason. No. There's no reason that he needs to be in this movie.
I think I literally at one point. At one point, I was like, I wish I really cared about this character more because they're trying. Because it probably would have been a fascinating storyline if there wasn't 15 other plot lines happening.
That's the thing. It was too. I said there are 3 fucking villains in this movie. This is far too much.
Sounds like Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Again, the trope of having too many players in the plot is just convolutes like the core plot line, and it should have been just Harry's Green Goblin.
It should have been, and like I said, we should have been teased with another thing, and that would have been it, and that would have been fine. But
we wanted Sam Raimi to treat his movies like the MCU has been treating their movies. That's what we wanted.
That's what we wanted. Well, I mean, I just wanted it to be good, and this wasn't good. But my next note says, and MJ's being kidnapped. Must be Tuesday.
Oh, it's just a Thursday night.
So Pete's gonna put on the red suit once again to save MJ. And then
we should mention that the Venom and Sandman like team up because he's like, I want. That. Oh, did you already say that?
Yep, I said Eddie's teaming up with the Sand Dude.
Perf. Okay.
Yep. Nope. They're teaming up because they have rage.
Yeah, I said this is dumb.
And also, like, I don't buy the reason why Eddie knows that Peter is Spider-Man. It was like, oh, he kind of saw him from the bottom of a bell tower. ripping off the Venom symbiote. Like, does the Venom symbiote also, like, tell him that he's Spider-Man? I don't know. But we're moving on. Harry has a scar from the bombs, and he won't help because he's still a little crazy and a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
But then the butler comes through with the truth about how Norman died and said, I helped clean those wounds because I see stuff that I don't talk about because I'm a good person, but your father definitely died from the blades of his own thing. Spider-Man did not kill him. And I'm like, where was this truth last movie?
I literally said, where's my fucking note? Oh, I think maybe I thought it, but I was like, when you waited till this moment to tell this? Like, you could have said this like from the jump.
Yeah, when you realized that he was starting to go crazy.
Yeah,
that would have been great because apparently the truth sets him free from the crazy.
What the fuck, Bernard?
And I went, yeah, but then we're here and we go, ugh, right in front of the flag. With the superhero landing?
Right in front of my salad?
Yep, nope, I wasn't here for the cliche in front of the flag superhero landing, but that's how we know Peter's a good guy again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, Mary Jane's actually helping. She's throwing shit.
She threw a cinder block.
She's
good for her.
She's trying.
It took 5 years.
But she's there.
She finally was like, I could do something.
I was so happy.
And honestly, gravity did most of that work.
Gravity did do most of the work, but you know what? She helped it.
She, pushed it off the cab.
I was like, and then she jumps from the car to get out because the car was going to fall instead of being in the car.
She barrel rolled.
She jumped out because she's like, they're fighting other people right now. They don't have time for me, so I better not die.
I need to go over here. Look at her, like, actually being proactive in her rescue. And not just being like a passive damsel in distress.
Yep, and I said, and now Sand Dude is Mud Dude, and he kind of looks like a potato.
Yeah.
And then Peter goes smash
turd.
smash. And it's like, and then Peter goes smash smash under the fist. And then Harry decided he wasn't crazy anymore and shows up to help.
And then, like, shoots all, like, a bunch of
little missiles
and stuff.
Which apparently kills him. Sure.
Yeah, I was like, when did he go down? Did I miss something? I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I know he like shoots some things and then you see it like harden and then break off.
And then like
yeah, so we're like, cool, that works. And then I'm living for this little brat kid next to J. Jonah Jameson because he doesn't have, both of his photographers are fighting.
Yeah.
And so he's like, how much for your camera? She's like, $100. And she gives him the camera and there's no film in it. She goes, film is extra. I was like a boss. And then Peter and MJ are sitting there in the middle of their fight, like, having relationship therapy. I was like, you don't have time for this.
It's like, there are pressing matters.
And then I said, Sand Dude crumbles from bombs? Sure.
Yeah, I don't understand when he goes down somehow, but then he like comes back up later. So we're like, okay.
Oh well, no, and then he goes down. He goes down for like the final time until we see him as like a human again. I think.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah, but sure, bombs. And then I said, ew, where his teeth gross? Because like even when he like takes the thing off of his face, his teeth are still jacked up.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
Doesn't again.
No,
that makes no sense.
And then
apparently the symbiote is weak to sound.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I said, hey, sacrifice. Because...
Oh, he, like, jumps in...
Because Harry jumps in front and saves Peter. And then, yeah, I said, defeated by a giant tuning fork.
Yep. I was like, okay, this is where this is going.
And I said, oh, we're just killing people off left and right in this movie. We don't want you in the next one. Bye. Osborn family dead.
For real.
And I said, but, oh, Sand Dude's still alive. He killed Ben on accident. We see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I said, yeah, this is the point. I was like, I wish I cared more about Sand Dude. If I did, this moment might actually be rewarding.
But it's not.
It's not. It's a thing that happens. And I was like, cool. And then Peter forgives him because Aunt May told him to. And then the Sand Dude blows off into the distance.
He whooshes away.
And then the best thing Harry does in this entire trilogy is die.
Tells Peter, oh, he is my best friend, and then dies.
Yep. And then there are a lot of funerals in Spider-Man movies. The only, like, the Tom Holland movies, no funerals. Every other Spider-Man movie,
All
we're
the
at a
funerals.
gravesite. Every single one. First one, so Sam Raimi, Spider-Man 1, Uncle Ben. Spider-Man 2, Uncle Ben, because we're back at Uncle Ben's gravesite. Spider-Man 3, Harry Osborn. Amazing Spider-Man 1, Uncle Ben. And there's the funeral for George Stacy. Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy. Why is there only funerals?
It's all funerals.
Only funerals all the time.
Because all the people die.
We see MJ at her jazz club bar restaurant waitress job. And she's singing I'm Through with Love, which is, very Some Like It Hot. And I was like, Is she singing this song? Maybe? I feel like the auto tune is strong enough, so maybe? Because you could definitely tell that was like a recorded thing. Whereas like when
they recorded
when
it,
Jesse Collins was singing like in the middle of the movie, you're like, oh, that bitch is singing.
She's singing.
And this girl, and you're like, oh.
No, she's singing.
She's singing, and they did pressed a lot of buttons afterwards.
No.
But sure.
Yeah, it was definitely recorded.
And then I said, I guess they're back together? Do I care? No.
Did you catch that Flash was also at Harry's funeral?
Yeah.
Good for Flash.
Good for Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's like, what, 80 now?
I know, right? He's like in his mid-40s.
And I was like, and that's how we end? Ugh, all right.
Right, yeah. You're just like, I should be happier that they're back together.
But I'm not.
But I'm not.
Cool. What up?
Yeah, that's literally, and it just ends. That's it.
So, JJ, how would you rate Spider-Man 3?
I'm going to, let's see, it's definitely, I'm going to put it, because of just like, it was there's just far too much jammed in this movie. It was far too long for it to be, it was way too long way longer than it needed to be. Mm-hmm. The inclusion of Eddie Brock's character and the other guy could have been handled a little more deftly. It was just
or not at all. We didn't need them.
Oh yeah, or exactly, or not at all, or it just felt like shoehorned into this.
Yeah, I mean, like I would have been fine if it was just Harry Osborn and the Sand Dude, because for half the movie, Harry Osborn doesn't know who he is, so we wouldn't have much of a Spider-Man movie. So like, I get the want to like, oh, here's another problem he has to face, and then oh shit, Harry remembers who he is now, we have another problem. Like, that would have been cool, and we could have like delved more into the Flint dude, Sand Dude could have had more emotional beats, so by the time he has his rewarding moment at the end, we would have been like, that felt earned. But it doesn't.
That's the problem. And
No,
none of it feels satisfying.
Nope.
Because it's all like shoved in your face and forced on you.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give it like I'm gonna give it 2 Aunt May wedding rings.
Oh, you're rating it better than I am. I'm going to give this 1 Peter Parker emo dance.
1 Peter Parker hip thrust.
Yes, 1 Peter Parker hip thrust. That's it. This is nobody. If you guys decide to brave through and slog through this movie, please email us and tell us about it, because maybe you do love this movie and you can tell us why you think we're wrong. Because I would love to hear somebody tell me that they think this is a good movie. Or if you agree, tell us about that too.
Yes, because we would love to hear from you guys. Mm-hmm. But thank you for listening to the Nobody Asked Our Opinion podcast. You can send us an email with any and all of your opinions at nobodyaskedouropinion@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Instagram at Nobody Asked Our Opinion, and you can listen to us also on YouTube if you don't do the podcast thing at Nobody Asked Our Opinion podcast. You can follow Joanna at
Joey Snow 2006,
and you can follow me at pianoman_05. Follow our unpaid intern Natalia at The Third Rule Creative. and our producer Jonathan at Jelly Sound. Please rate and leave a review, and tell all your friends and to listen to our podcast so we can continue to get more and more support and give you guys more and more content
and make us famous.
And make us fucking famous. Yes. But that's it. Okay, bye.
Bye.